This antipsychotic issue is one that I take very personally, because I sold an antipsychotic drug for J&J called haloperidol, Haldol. Is anybody familiar with that? It's one of the older neuroleptic drugs that was reserved for schizophrenia and psychosis. I was in a territory in southern Texas, in Corpus Christi. So I didn't have the same amount of specialists as a lot of my counterparts and my competitors did. I didn't have as many psychiatrists in my area because I wasn't in Houston or Dallas or Austin or one of the areas that had more psychiatrists. So I was at a disadvantage when I sold Haldol, because the vast majority of my Haldol sales came from general practitioners, and they really weren't selling that much of my drug. So it was about the third quarter, I guess, the end of the third quarter, and I was looking at my market share, and you know, market share increases are what reps are paid on at bonus time. So if you don't meet your market share increases, then you don't get several thousands of dollars each quarter in bonus money. And so I'm looking at my data, and I realize that I'm behind the ball in haloperidol, and I call my district manager and I say, you know, what am I going to do? This isn't fair. Some of my colleagues have, you know, more psychiatrists, and they have a better territory than I do. And he said, oh, you know, this is what I would do if I were you. I would find out who the general practitioners and family practice doctors are that have nursing home responsibilities in your area. Then you blitz those nursing homes and go in and, you know, talk to the nurses and talk to those doctors, and you will increase your Haldol sales overnight. I guarantee you, because nobody likes to call on nursing homes. Reps aren't going into nursing homes. So, armed with my new information and my new game plan, I went out and I did a Haldol blitz. And during this Haldol blitz, I went into all of these local nursing homes, and I took lunches in, and I gave away gift certificates, and you know, I just really smooched up to all these nurses and all of the personnel in these offices, and littered every doctor's office that had these responsibilities with pens and scratch pads and clocks and golf balls and everything that I can think of in terms of promotional items. You couldn't look anywhere that there wasn't Haldol written on something in these doctors' offices. So what that did was it effectively increased my market share over 25%, people. Over 25%, and I didn't even have the specialists that were writing for these. You know why? Because I was promoting off-label for dementia. And these people were being subdued, just like they were in chemical straitjackets. They were being subdued by these drugs. And unfortunately, the nurses were happy to comply with my wishes. Oh, yes, you know, we wrote so-and-so, we had Dr. so-and-so write for this patient and that patient. So, to tell you a little story that's in my book, just to give you an example, I went into this one nursing home that I was going in on a weekly basis, trying to build, you know, my relationships in there. And I used to see this one little older lady in her late 80s, early 90s, and I'll call her Mrs. Smith. She was in a wheelchair, and she was always running around in her wheelchair, you know. It was an electric wheelchair, and she was always running around in her wheelchair and barking at the nurses and, you know, telling so-and-so needs her bedpan changed, and so-and-so her IV bag's empty, and you didn't take care of so-and-so needs her diaper changed, and all of this. And I just got a kick out of watching this woman, and the nurses were just, they were just mortified every time that she'd start something in front of me. But I liked it because it was entertaining. So the last day that I went to call on this nursing home, I didn't see Mrs. Smith anywhere. So I inquired of the head nurse before I left. I said, so what happened to Mrs. Smith? Where's she today? She says, oh, you know, Mrs. Smith has had a bad spell. Her friend in 17B died last week, and she was a little disoriented and having problems sleeping. So we put her on Haldol, just like you suggested, and she's doing great now. No longer, she's not combative. She's not fighting us and arguing with us and talking back all the time. And I stood there for a moment and I thought to myself, but Mrs. Smith isn't the kind of patient that I was promoting Haldol for, or was she? And as I was leaving that day, I rounded the corner and I saw an attendant pushing Mrs. Smith in her wheelchair. This little old lady that had always had her hair perfectly coiffed and this bright red lipstick that was her signature and was always chatty and talking, was drooling on her pink nightgown. She looked like a zombie. And I felt this stab in my gut as I walked out of the facility, because I knew I had been responsible for that woman being drugged like that. And I knew she wasn't the patient type that I would have suggested be put on Haldol. But that's how much I could influence people, just with my nice personality and my gregarious, outgoing ways and my gifts, of course, because I was a goody girl. I didn't go anywhere without a goodie. Everywhere I went, I passed out movie passes, I passed out gift certificates, I took in baskets of food and candy everywhere I went, and I wasn't alone. The reason I'm saying I did it is because I'm taking responsibility for what I did. But believe me, all of these individuals in this industry, they don't even question the integrity of this. They don't even question the integrity of this. So as a society, it is our responsibility to call them onto the carpet and to bring them into rings, because this industry is out of hand.